Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. Oh, man. Right before I started shooting, I inhaled a bunch of whatever is in this cup, and it was a bad time. Sorry about that. First up for T&D, we have the sweater mug. It was another cold day here today, and so it feels like a good day for a sweater mug. I got a sweatshirt on, etc., etc. And inside of it, in a similar vein, we have some more of the blackberry apple cider. I'm almost out of it, which is very sad for me, but it is so good, and it really, really sticks in the back of your throat when you accidentally inhale it. Whoops, my bad. But we're not here to talk about me not being able to drink like a normal person. We are here instead to talk about some of the best healing spells in 5th edition. At a whole variety of levels. There are 9 levels of spells. I have 9 spells here. Obviously, it would make too much sense for me to have 1 at each level of those spells, so I don't have that. Instead, I've got a whole weird smattering of them, and we're just going to go ahead and talk about them. These are, again, my opinion, the best healing spells in the game for a myriad of different reasons. As you guys all know, I am a huge supporter of healing in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, which probably puts me in the minority, but that is okay. You don't have to play the healer, I will. So let's go ahead and let's dive in, starting at 1st level, working our way up from there. Some of the best healing spells in the game. Kicking it off right there at level 1, we have Cure Wounds. Cure Wounds is a really fantastic spell, especially if you are a combat medic type. If you are up in the fray with people, being able to reach down and touch them to give them hit points is a very good deal. It is 1d8 plus your spellcasting modifier, and it goes up by a d8 for every single level you pump into them past that. So that is a really helpful sort of heal to just be able to pop off at any random time at somebody that is right next to you. I know it gets a lot of flack for being a touch spell, and maybe your healer shouldn't be on the front lines like that, but your Forge Domain clerics, your paladins, your, etc., anybody that's going to find themselves on the front lines and has the ability to cast this spell, it is going to be much better for them than the other option here of Healing Word, also at 1st level. Healing Word, however, is what most people would argue to be the best healing spell in the game. I am not one of those people, but I do see its merit. I see that it is a very useful spell to have. And I'm not going to shame it in any capacity, because I do think it is a very good spell. Healing Word, for anybody who doesn't know, range of 60 feet, bonus action, and you can go ahead and heal that creature a d4 plus your spellcasting modifier, another d4 for each level above 1st that you cast it at. Very good spell, very good for picking people up off the ground, very good for your action economy if you have something bigger to pop off with your main action, but it is not my go-to. I am somebody who, in spite of the fact that I play very small characters most of the time, if I am playing a healer, which is often, I will pick and go for the Cure Wounds more often than the Healing Word, because I like to put myself in bad situations, which means I will throw my squishy little guys right there on the front lines, because why not? What's the worst that could happen, right? It's just D&D. What are they going to do? Accidentally kill my character? It won't be an accident, but that's okay. So, those 2 1st level spells, sort of the bread and butter of the healing world in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, mostly because when you get into the higher levels, most people will begin to argue that it is not worth the heal for the cost that you are getting. However, I think differently, and so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into some of these higher level ones now. First and foremost, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go with Healing Spirit. This one is one that wasn't really on my radar until the campaign that I'm playing in right now, wherein she's still around, have a Druid, Healing Spirit. It is a bonus action, once again. It is concentration for up to a minute, 2nd level spell, range of 60 feet, and you can go ahead and you can conjure up a spirit over there that can sort of bounce around as needed. Anytime a creature enters the space for the first time or starts its turn there, you can cause the spirit to restore 1d6 hit points to that creature without any action required from either of you. It just kind of happens that way. And what's really great about that is that as a bonus action on your turn, you can go ahead and you can bounce it to a different one of your friends. So if you are in the middle of the fight and you just are sort of dropping it on them, it can bounce back and forth between them. Or you can set it up at sort of a central point so they can just move through it to pick up that healing once on each of their turns. An extra d6 does go a long way at some point to making it so that you are still on your feet. You'd be surprised by how much 1d6 can actually change the tides every once in a while. I know that I definitely am sometimes, but it's one of those things that is not a bad thing to have packed. It can heal a number of times equal to 1 plus your spellcasting ability modifier. After heals that many times, it goes away. Every spell slot above 2nd level adds an extra d6 to that healing. So 3rd level, 2d6 each time. Definitely not a bad thing to just sort of have packed in your backpack for in case something like that happens. The other 2nd level one we have here is one that happens outside of combat. I love it. You guys all know that I love it already. Prayer of Healing is a fantastic 2nd level spell. It takes 10 minutes to cast. However, when you do so, it heals 2d8 plus your spellcasting ability modifier to 6 creatures of your choice within range, which is about 30 feet. So as long as you guys can have a quick little sit down, you can blow a 2nd level spell to give back 2d8 plus spellcasting number of hit points, which is inherently better than Cure Wounds because you are then healing up to 12d8 hit points on that 2nd level spell instead of 2d8. So it is one of those things where, yes, you have to sit down and actually do it, but in place of a short rest every once in a while, it is a clutch kind of thing. Particularly if you are at lower levels, which is where most of D&D actually kind of takes place, if you think about it. And by if you think about it, I mean, as we all well know, most of D&D takes place at those lower levels. And so having a Prayer of Healing packed is never, ever going to be a bad thing. If you watch Critical Role, it is the Caduceus Clay special, and you already know that it is fantastic. Every spell level above 2nd, you gain an extra d8. So, again, it stacks the way that a Cure Wounds would, but at an exponential level, which is really, really fantastic. So, getting on up past the 2nd levels, we get into the funkier ones now. Some of the ones that I really, really like. First up, we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit Aura of Vitality. This one is a special one. It is a paladin spell, actually. One of those things that actually is probably pretty dang good for, you to actually have packed as a paladin, to cast as a paladin, not just use as a Divine Smite slot, though to each their own. Do what you're going to do. I'm not here to judge you for it. Aura of Vitality is a 3rd level spell that is a concentration of 1 minute, takes an action to cast, and it creates a 30-foot radius around you. When you do that, the aura that it creates moves with you, centered on you. On each of your turns, you can use a bonus action to cause 1 creature in the aura, including yourself, to gain 2d6 hit points. And so if you have a second to set that up while you are running into the fight, it's going to be something that is going to be very, very good for you. Because quite frankly, paladins don't have a whole lot of bonus actions to work off of. Yes, they do have some, but for the most part, being able to just drop healing on yourself, if no one else, is never going to be a bad thing. And if you are right up in it, the likelihood that somebody's going to go down near you, and by near I mean within 30 feet of you, is a lot higher than if you are standing on the back line. So this is a good spell to have if you are up in the mix as well. This one, over the course of the minute, will heal a grand total of 20d6, which is not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. If you are watching Critical Role, again, right now, Campaign 3, mild spoilers, I guess, the Cleric subclass that Matt wrote has this spell built into it, and so they have found it to be a wildly, wildly helpful thing to have in a non-combat kind of situation as well, because if you can take 1 minute, you can heal a total of 20d6 separated out into 2d6 chunks to anybody in the party that will need it. You can sort of like drop it on people. So that is up to 12 hit points every 6 seconds for a full minute, for 10 rounds in a row. That is not a bad thing, because that is a potential of up to, and I mean very much up to, 12d6, 120, that's what I'm trying to say, hit points. I don't know where I got 12d6 from. 120 hit points in that 1 minute, and that is no joke at all. So, Aura of Vitality, very, very good spell. Next up at 3rd level, one that I really, really do love, one that I support, one that I get behind, one that I think more people should play with, especially those people who love bad ideas, Life Transference. Most people will look at this one and shrink away from it in a big bad way. But this is a potent healing spell. At a range of 30 feet, this third level spell takes 1 action to cast. And what happens is, when you go ahead and cast this spell, you immediately take 4d8 damage, which cannot be reduced in any way. And then one creature of your choice within 30 feet of you regains a number of hit points equal to double that damage. Most of your like vampiric touch things, the ones where you're like siphoning life off of people, is half as much damage as you deal to somebody. So if you are dealing 48 damage to yourself and then you are doubling it to give to somebody else, that is very, very, very good. To put that in perspective, that is an average of 16 points of damage to yourself, technically 18 points of damage to yourself, which means that your buddy, on average, is going to be healing 36 points for a 3rd level spell. That will get most 5th level characters just up as you go, and it won't knock down too many of your 5th level characters who are actually casting this spell as well. This is very good for your backliners who maybe have a couple of hit points to actually spare because they are not sitting there taking the brunt of the attacks from the people in front of them. So again, I really, really support this one as a card-carrying member of the Bad Ideas Club. I think that this is one of the best low-level healing spells because of the amount that you can do with it. In addition to that, you go ahead and you stack an extra d8 of damage to yourself on every single level above 3rd. So if you cast it at 4th level, that becomes 5d8 necrotic damage, which jumps the grand average up to 45 points healed to somebody else. Like, it increases at such a good rate that this is not a spell to really like just blink away. It's a really, really good one. So kicking off past that, there are some 4th level spells that I would talk about, and you might be noticing I'm skipping Mass Healing Word. I'm skipping Mass Healing Word because I don't like Mass Healing Word all that much. I also don't like Mass Cure Wounds all that much. Spoiler alert. Not to say I don't use them, but they're not my favorite. So skipping on past the rest of the 3rd levels and the 4th levels, we come on down to the 5th level spell here for Sorcerer, Warlocks, and Wizards, Enervation. If you don't know what Enervation is, it is a 5th level casting, 5th level, 1 action casting time spell with a range of 60 feet with concentration up to a minute. And what you do, this spell for Sorcerers, Warlocks, and Wizards, is you go ahead and you force a creature within 60 feet of you to make a dexterity saving throw. If it succeeds, it takes 2d8 necrotic damage and the spell's over. But on a failed save, it takes 4d8 necrotic damage. You gain that many hit points, and you can go ahead and just, or you regain half that many hit points. Sorry. And every single action after that you do in a row, you can do the exact same thing again. There is no way that they can save to try and fix it. There's nothing they can do about it. It just happens so long as you keep using actions and you stay within range of them. That is a extremely, extremely good deal on your part, because if you are, one of those backliner casters, maybe a Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard, I don't know, just picking a few classes out of thin air, and you can be 30 feet away from the bad guy, and your party members are beating them down, and you took some kind of crazy hit early on because, I don't know, you were scouting for some dumb reason or something like that, and you can drop this on them, you can sit there with your action and just sap. And it doesn't count as casting a spell after that first one, so you can go ahead and you can use your bonus actions to do some bigger things in there. This one is a really, really fun one because of the fact that it just continues for as long as you are willing to commit to it. And that is something that I really like because, again, hashtag bad ideas guy here, commit to the bit and never stop committing. But I guess cut your losses when it gets bad. Kicking off of the 5th level spells, again, don't love Mass Cure Wounds, so I'm not going to go ahead and stop at that one. We are getting up to Heal. Most people will not look at a lot of these mid-level spells here. They will go straight from your Healing Word and Cure Wounds, maybe even Prayer of Healing, and then they will not take another Cure spell all the way up until they get to Heal. And that is because Heal is one of your big spells. Heal, for anyone that doesn't know, 6th level spell, 1 action casting time, instantaneous range of 60 feet. You pick a creature within range, and it just gains 70 hit points. It ends blindness, deafness, and any diseases affecting it. It has no effects on constructs undead. And every time you go up in spell level, it gains an additional 10 hit points, which means that 7th level is going to be a grand total of 80 hit points. 8th level, 90, and 9th level is 100. This is a lot of hit points to go ahead and throw at somebody. When you are getting your 6th level spells-ish, you're going to be looking at level 10, 11, and so you're going to be at that point where 70 hit points isn't going to necessarily be all of the fighter's hit points, but it's going to be a massive chunk of them, and it is the way to turn a fight around every once in a while. If somebody downs your frontliner and you are suddenly in trouble, if you can drop a heal on them and pick them back up with 70 hit points, that gets them through at least another round or two with this, whatever it is you're fighting, and that could be the difference, because a round or two of player attacks against a creature is so much damage, because players are built to withstand and last and deal stuff over time, and monsters are actually built to go down relatively quickly, all things considered, if you use the official materials. So heal is something that can absolutely turn the tide of battle around on you, and that it's just one that is rightfully rated, I would say. There are some spells that are overrated. This one is very well rated. It is not something that I would mess around with, or would mess around with not having in my arsenal if it is available to me, because it is that potent. Now, skipping past 7th level, there are no real healing spells at level 8, and then going straight up to 9th level. You guys know what it is already. I have talked about it before. I talked about it in my best 9th level spell episode. Mass Heal. Mass Heal, best healing spell in the game, obviously. In my opinion, one of the best spells in the game. In fact, it is one of the core arguments I make often when I'm talking about why healing is not a waste of time. It doesn't make sense for the most potent spell in the game, and by potent, I mean able to affect the most hit points of creatures, to be a healing spell if healing was a waste of time. Because with Mass Heal, you get to go ahead and just divvy up 700 hit points to creatures around you. 700 hit points is a full hit point reset for a party of 4. It's a full hit point reset for a party of 5. It might even be a full hit point reset for a party of 6, depending on how your spread is. It is the thing that actually hits the reset button. Heal will turn things for you. Mass Heal will reset things for you. It will swing the tide all the way back in your favor, and it will make your life significantly easier all of a sudden. And by easier, I mean it'll give you a fighting chance again. I adore this spell. This is such a good spell. Any healer, if you are playing a healer, should have this packed with them, because it is that good. It will deliver in that clutch moment. Yes, you're not going to be dropping a meteor swarm, but you know what? Everyone on your team will think that you are the best person in the world when you have the ability to go ahead and pick them all back up, top them off, and send them back out into the fight. This is no joke. This is the best healing spell in the game. This is arguably, I would argue, one of, if not the absolute best spells in the game, period. So, those are some of the best healing spells in the game at a bunch of different levels. I talked about 9 of them here. There are more healing spells than that. It doesn't stop here. There are so many good ones, and I pick the ones that I like the most. But let me know what your favorites are, because again, I love being a healer. I love playing healers. I love buffing my healers. I love being a support kind of person. So healing is my bread and butter when I play this game. I adore it. I think everybody should do it. I think everybody should have one. I talked about that in a different episode at one point. Love it. So, moving on from that, let's get into the shows that we have for today and, nope, just today, because that's how this works. It's Tuesday, which means we have, in no particular order, Diary of a Dragon Pit, Star Wars First Resistance, Dungeons and Daddies, Bombarded, Heck of a D&D, Glass Cannon, and the Queer Questers. Check them out. Let them know that I sent you, because again, someday somebody's going to say something to me about that, and I'm going to think that it's funny. But until then, I'm going to keep asking you guys to go ahead and tell them. So that is everything I have to talk to you guys about today. So thank you so very much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so much in particular to my patrons. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. If you're interested in becoming a patron, check out the link in the episode description. Dismount that I'm so good at, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, don't forget, everybody. Drink tea or cider, play D&D, and keep on rolling.